Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 89, noes 26.
The bill is passed.
Assembly 2946, Calendar 415. Mr. Titone, an act to amend the civil practice law and rules.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
Clerk will record the vote. Mr. Titone to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's kind of disheartening and shocking that when you learn that today, years after Hurricane Irene, nearly 4 years after Superstorm Sandy, that there are people who are still out of their homes litigating in court with their insurance carriers. So I think this is a great measure to expedite their claims as it goes through the court system. Many, on average, a claim against an insurance carrier just to determine if there is coverage pursuant to a policy can go up to 10 years. So I think this is one way where we can really ensure that people who have lost their homes and have been devastated by natural disasters in the state are ensured a quick, judicious, and expedited conclusion to that disaster. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will be voting in the affirmative.
Mr. Titone in the affirmative. Mr. Saladino to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise because this is an excellent opportunity to point out, as you heard earlier, that there are so many people in parts of this state still trying to recover from Superstorm Sandy, the largest, worst natural event to hit the east coast of the United States. We need to do more in so many areas, starting with the state of New York. New York Rising continues to fight people who are trying to get their life back in order and get their home rebuilt. I even heard recently that New York Rising is looking to ask people for money back from New York State residents who have faithfully paid their taxes, paid for their insurance, fought with their insurance companies, got a small amount from the New York Rising program to help rebuild their homes, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to rebuild their homes. It wasn't enough to finish the job. And now to ask them for money back is outrageous. I hope this state will reconsider that policy because we must protect the people first. The good people on the South Shore of Long Island, from so many communities like Massapequa and Babylon and West Islip and all those hardworking communities that have gone through so much. This is that opportunity to say we must never forget to continue to fight to make their lives whole. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to represent those people who are still fighting to get their lives in order.
And how do you vote, sir?
I will be voting in the affirmative.
Mr. Goodell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to explain my vote. I certainly want to commend the sponsor for his intent to try to expedite the insurance review of claims following a major storm. I certainly agree with that objective, and I appreciate his efforts on that behalf. My concern is that this particular legislation adds a number of requirements that unfortunately have proved in other contexts to slow things down rather than speed them up. For example, this bill adds a mandatory settlement conference. We did that on mortgage foreclosures. And as a result, New York State has one of the slowest mortgage foreclosure processes in the nation. This bill adds a requirement that discovery be completed within 60 days. Well, the discovery obligation on an insurance claim is on the claimant, because the insurance company doesn't have anything. They're asking for discovery from the claimant, the homeowner, to produce information to back their claim. And that's why those sometimes take time, because the homeowner's records have been destroyed in the storm. And it can be extraordinarily time-consuming and difficult to recreate them. Yet this bill imposes sanctions on the homeowner if they don't get the information to the insurance company within 60 days. So while I certainly applaud the intent of the sponsor and the intent of this legislation, sadly, I think it has the opposite result and would end up hurting homeowners and delaying the process further. For that reason, I'm voting in the negative.
Mr. Goodell in the negative. Ms. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When Hurricane Sandy hit, I was in my home that day. I live in Coney Island. And when it hit my home, it came with a fury. It hit from the ocean and it hit from the bay. I had 60 feet of water, 60. It almost toppled my home. I own a two-family home, and I lost more than half of it. My neighbor, Stuart Stein, a Vietnam vet, 68 years old, only lived in the first floor of his home. He swam out of his home in order to get to safety and swam into my yard. I had to then take a ladder and save his life, myself and my husband. Because the insurance, this man, he fought so hard to ask the insurance to please cover his home. He just died February 22nd, and I believe that he died from a broken heart. I believe that this storm took away every bit of his fiber of his being. The insurance companies did nothing for my family. I paid flood insurance, homeowners insurance, insurance for the insurance. And I had to use my 401k after I retired from saving this city. I retired after 24 years of service as a correction officer, and I had to use my 401k to bring my home back. The insurance companies are not doing what they're supposed to do. And in 3 weeks, I have to again move out of my home so that build it back and put my home back together. I vote in the affirmative.
Ms. Harris in the affirmative. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 101, noes 19.
The bill is passed.
Assembly 4458, Calendar 417, Mr. Skoufis, an act to amend the insurance law.
An explanation is requested, Mr. Skoufis.
Speaker, this legislation codifies regulations that are in place pertaining to prompt standards for investigation and settlement of claims following states of emergency here in New York.
Mr. Barkley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the sponsor yield?
Will you yield, Mr. Skoufis?
Yes.
Sponsor yields.
Thank you, Mr. Skoufis. What is that period in regulation now?
So right now, the emergency regulations, which are still in place, that were put in place following Sandy, state that insurers have a 15-day window to review and decide upon claims, and then they can ask for an additional 15-day window. The existing statute is very different than that. Existing statute states that insurers have a 15-day, that same 15-day window, but they can ask for and almost always get an unlimited number of 90-day extensions.
So I'm confused on what this bill would limit it to 15 days period and no extension, or what does this do that's not already in regulation then?
So this codifies regulations. So regulations, these are emergency regs. It's quite possible that they will someday in the near future expire. And so this codifies them into law and replaces that unlimited 90-day extension that insurers can ask for.
And why do we want to codify this?
For the exact reason I just stated before, in the event the emergency regulations expire.
But presumably a DFS, as they did in Sandy, could, reinstitute those regulations.
They could. We have new commissioners, we have new governors, we have new administrations that all come in with different perspectives. So, I don't think it's safe for us to assume that this will just continue in perpetuity.
Well, it may not be, but there may be different circumstances where you might want to allow some more variables that you can do through regulation versus having something codified that kind of sticks it where you don't have the ability to be flexible, I guess.
Yeah, sure, and that power will remain with DFS and the administration, but it shouldn't take these mega storms, whether it be Irene or Sandy, to ensure that insurance companies act promptly. If it's a local state of emergency, which this bill also covers, and a particular community or county, for example, is hit hard with a hurricane-like event or other natural disasters, then some homeowners shouldn't have to wait months upon months upon months to get the necessary settlement and claim that they're entitled to.
Yeah, presumably they couldn't do it under the emergency reg. You're just codifying those now. Are you aware that other states are backing away from the time limit and they're actually expanding the time limit? One of the problems is limiting to 15 days or a short amount is when you have a superstorm, you can't prioritize different claims. You have small claims, you have big claims. Obviously, you want the big claims settled first or taken care of first versus the small claims. I think when you have a limited time period, fortunately, I think the insurance industry, for the most part, performed pretty well during Sandy, but you never know what the future is going to hold. It just seems a little bit short-sighted to put this in a codify where we can't change it easily and now leave it to the professionals in DFS and let them make the decision going forward. All right, I guess, are you aware there's other states going the other direction?
I'm sure there are other states looking at going the other direction. I'm sure there are other states that are pro-consumer, as this bill would reflect. I would just state that I would agree that many insurers, following Sandy, following Irene, and following other events, they do act properly. They do act promptly. As we saw in the DFS report card that was issued following Sandy, the majority of these insurance companies are doing exactly what you state. However, there is a minority of insurers who do not act responsibly. They collect the checks every month, the premiums every month, when times are good, but when times become not so good, they are very reluctant to pay out those claims. So this just ensures that all insurance companies are acting properly. And for those insurance companies that, following Sandy, following other states of emergency, they are doing the right thing already, they have nothing to worry about here.
Thank you, Mr. Skoufis. On the bill, please, Mr. Speaker.
On the bill, sir.
Just as was mentioned in debate, currently this is already an emergency regulation. There's no reason that if the emergency regulation expires, there's no reason on a superstorm in the future that DFS can't institute these regulations again. I'm not sure that we want to codify these types of rules because who knows what the future brings. Maybe this next storm will be so substantial that 15 days is completely unreasonable and undoable. So for those reasons and a number of other reasons, Mr. Speaker, I would urge my colleagues to vote against this bill. Thank you.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
The clerk will record the vote. Mr. Abernathy, to explain your vote, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to commend my colleague, Mr. Skoufis, for the fine presentation, and for all of the reasons he suggested, I am going to support this bill. I would just like to raise one point. One of the speakers in opposition to the bill indicated that clearly we want the large claims paid first. Well, that, I think, reflects an attitude that bigness is more important than the regular consumer. It may very well be that a large claim is submitted by a large company that can carry the float, that can do the work, can fix it and wait for the insurance company to pay, while some of the small claims that get pushed aside under the present process belong to people who can't rebuild their homes or can't move back into their homes without the money they're going to get. So I commend the sponsor of this legislation, and I do hope we pass it with a large number to send a message to the other House that they should also pass this legislation.
Mr. Abernathy, in the affirmative. Mr. Oakes to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just on this legislation, I know we listened to concerns about that and why we might be cautionary here of codifying these regulations that, emergency regulations that we have. One of the things in the discussion we talked a bit about, or it was commented about prioritizing or dealing with large claims versus small claims. Having some experience in the industry, being an advocate for consumers and policyholders as an agent, one of the issues is we had a time when there was a large windstorm, caused a great number of losses all in the area. Some people had small losses, some people had total losses. The companies in dealing with it had to end up determining which ones they might go, and oftentimes they went to the large, meaning someone who had a total loss of their home, trying to settle that before they settled someone who had a modest loss, which when you have a loss, obviously it's a concern, but in the midst of an emergency where you can't deal with all of them at once, I think it makes sense to give some latitude for being able to deal with the ones that are most immediate, the ones that are most concerned that need to be dealt with immediately and be able to prioritize that. So with the different discussion, whatever, I'm going to end up voting against this as being codified. Thank you.
Mr. Oates in the negative. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 92, noes 22.
The bill is passed.
Assembly 7537A, calendar number 420. Mr. Kaminsky, an act to amend the insurance law.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect on the 90th day.
Clerk will record the vote. Mr. Kaminsky to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After Superstorm Sandy ravaged the South Shore of Long Island and other parts of this state, neighbors came to find that they were treated differently than their neighbors, that insurance companies told one family that a windstorm had occurred and their deductible applied, while another family was told there was no windstorm. What this bill will do will establish a uniform trigger for what is a windstorm, something that is just simply basic fairness. And we know that after the storm, so many people were treated so horribly by their insurance companies and treated without basic fairness, even though they made their payments time and time again. So overall, the bills today, whether it's moving cases through the court more expeditiously, creating easy definitions, or putting people on a level playing field, are all basic fair measures that are going to help the consumer. And after Hurricane Sandy, with people still now in debt, rebuilding, or not even home, it's the least we could do. The fact that we're here again today means one thing, that the other house has ignored these issues and has not taken them up. So anyone from these areas who might be watching this today, I urge you to push the Senate to pass these common sense pieces of legislation that will help our consumers and get us ready for the next storm. I vote in the affirmative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Kaminsky in the affirmative. Mr. Cahill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to first, before I offer just a remark or two, thank my colleagues for all their good work in moving these pieces of legislation through and for having the persistence to do it year after year while we await action to protect consumers in the state of New York. Those of us who were ravaged by storms in the Catskills saw half of towns wiped out completely, and we saw the weeks and months and now the years that followed of people trying to get their lives back together and coming across complication after complication. They often wondered whether anybody here in Albany was listening. Our consistent message with these pieces of legislation and others that we have passed throughout the years are a response to those people that we are indeed paying attention. It would be nice if we had cooperation from the other House in seeing this legislation move forward, and this legislation, as well as the other pieces that we are dealing with, would go a long way toward protecting our consumers in this state, protecting them from natural disasters, and protecting them from the companies in which they entrust their financial security. I withdraw my request and vote in the affirmative.
Mr. Cahill, in the affirmative. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 111, noes 0.
The bill is passed. Mr. Morelli.